In this video, we're going to look at the new update for the Gigboard from Headrush. Alright guys, the day is finally here. We're going to look at the new firmware update 2.0 for the Headrush Gigboard. And what's really cool about this unit itself is, yeah, it only has 4 switches across the bottom. There's still a lot you can do, and the new update has added some functionality to the 4 switches. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to learn how to build a set list and create rigs within that set list to help you better navigate through the different rigs that you need for the parts in your songs. So what I have here is a blank rig, and we're going to just simply start creating a rig. Now, one of the guys a few days ago, he was like, man, the M2 lead cap from Mesa Boogie is a really cool amp. So we're going to go ahead and check that one out to start off with. But first, let's go ahead and let's look at the global settings. And so you can see we got LCD brightness. We can change that. We can make it darker if we need to. We still got main out levels, line and amp, effects return level, rack and stomp, USB audio settings, assignments. If you have a toe switch, you can make it latch or momentary, which is cool. Then you can also adjust the polarity for the pedal to normal to inverted. And you got MIDI settings. And then you have reminders for confirm, unsaved, on or off. And then on the next page, here's something a little different. You got alternate rig, foot switch view. So you got 4 rigs or no hold. So you can have that on or off. Okay? So we're going to see here in a second, once I build some more rigs, what this actually looks like. So we have our amp and our cab, and here's our stock sound. Okay, not bad. I usually like to crank up the master volume on the amps. It just gives it a fatter tone. Alright, very cool. Still have all the normal settings as usual, and you have all the normal settings as far as the cab. I usually like my axis on. It's more of a brighter in-your-face sound than the axis off, which sounds like this. It really just depends on what you're going for. And if you're doing any kind of recording, it might be cool to have one guitar part be on axis and the other guitar part be off axis, so you can get that different coloration of the tone. All right. So what we're going to go ahead and do, this is a good basic rig here. Let's go to the 3 lines up here in the corner, and we're going to say new. And we're going to create a new rig. And this rig that we just made is at the very bottom. I got some Tracy Gunn stuff in here and all kinds of fun stuff. So here's our Gigboard 2.0 right there. We're going to go ahead and save a new set list. We're just going to say Gig 2.0. All right. So now we can go in here. We can find our rig. Okay. So there's our set list with the main rig that we've already created. All right, and that sounds really good. So let's say now, since we're already in a set list, any new rig that you make is going to automatically be put into that set list. So what we're simply going to do, let me go back because I don't want to make. All right, there we go. So if I want to keep the same kind of sound but just add other elements to it, I'm going to simply press save, save new rig. Now I'm going to say this is going to be a gig clean sound. All right. And let's say we're going to make this a little bit cleaner. It's still going to have a little bit of grit to it, but not much. It actually cleans up pretty nice. Alright, so right now at this point, you want to go to the output. make sure you're not overloading the output there. And let's turn the presence off. Definitely turn the bright off. Ooh, that makes it a little bit darker. Let's turn the presence back up. I think I actually like it with the bright on. Okay, so what's cool about this kind of mod, the lead cap mod, it kind of reduces the gain to the input circuit if you were to do this to a real amplifier, and people have done it, all the time over the years, so it's kind of neat. That's actually a pretty great clean sound right there. We can also crank the volume. There's a second volume stage here. Sounds really nice too. So what I'm listening for is just to turn it up to where it's nice and fat, but still has a good clean tone. We're going to check the output. Okay, and let's say we add in some dynamic. I have my own preset here that I made called a classic comp or clean comp. And I have a 10% sustain and about 50-ish, 60. Let's do it on 60. 60 level. Okay. And so far, this is a really good starting point for a clean sound. So who knew Mesa Boogie could do clean? I mean, I knew you could, but good job. Let's do a chamber. I love how you can just drag your finger across the screen and change the parameters. It makes it really slick and fast. Okay, now you notice that we have the tails on or off, just like in the Big Brother update. And that's actually... change this to a hall. Or you can change the parameters with the scroll wheel right here. Alright, that sounds really good. Alright, so let's say that's our nice clean patch. We can now, if you want to further modify that, we can just say we're going to unassign the cab. We'll keep all that in there. Alright. So now we're going to say save new rig. And we're going to make a rhythm sound. So let's add in a little bit of JRC. I like to turn mine down, the drive down, and the volume almost all the way up. Let's just see what kind of sound we're getting. And if you listen to that clean sound, it has some good sustain and a little bit of dirt in there. So when we kick in the JRC, it sounds really nice. All right, so let's make that our rhythm sound. And now we're going to say new rig. And let's do gig crunch. All right, you can see that as for each new rig, we're just creating it in the same set list. So that's why it's great to already create a set list first and then just add or create the rigs that you want within that set list. It makes it really easy. All right, so let's turn the JRC off and let's crank up this amp a little bit here. Alright, that works pretty good. And now we can go one step farther and say we want new rig, gig, gig lead. Let's turn the JRC on. All right, very cool. And let's go one step farther now and say save new rig. We're going to call this gig brutal. And we're actually going to change the amp over to the regular lead amp. So we got the same cab, same everything else. Okay, check the output. Alright, it's kind of compressing a little bit there. Let's turn that drive down. Alright, cool. So we got plenty of rigs in here so far, I think. Let's actually go back to... Let's go back to our clean sound. We're going to say save new rig, gig, wash. So now let's go ahead and add in some of the other elements that we've gotten in this update. So let's do the air delay. Let's do a nice ping pong. Okay, let's turn that mix down. Ooh, that sounds nice. We can darken it up with the feedback low pass filter. Okay, let's add, let's make this delay, actually let's make this reverb a lot longer. Okay, and let's add in our auto swell, which I like to have it on the slow setting, the tack all the way up. And I found that when you have a compressor on beforehand, it really might not work as well, but you probably have to just mess with the sensitivity trigger there. So I think with the compressor is adding more input to the front end, so you don't have to have your sensitivity up as loud. I think that's what the issue was before when I was messing with it. Okay, that's great. And let's add in a darker delay, a little tape echo. Alright, very cool. And let's do one more. Let's add in the shimmer, because we can. And there's a lot of good presets in here. Let's go ahead and do the ghost. And let's turn that mix down. Turn the tails on. Alright, that sounds nice. Now, if you really want to tuck that shimmer behind the sound, you probably want to put it at the very end. So that way the reverbs and stuff kind of wash it out. It might be the opposite way. Who knows? I'll do it this way first. Yeah, that sounds nice. Alright, so what we're going to look at now that we've made the rigs that we need, We're going to go into different views. So obviously we have stomp view. So you can see all your stomps across the bottom. Or you can set these up into scenes and have 4 scenes across the bottom, or 2 scenes here and 2 stomps here, or vice versa, whatever you want. If you go into rig view, now you see that we have a previous bank and a next bank. So now just by holding down the switch, you can swap to the next set of rigs in the next bank. So you hold for about 2 seconds or so. So 1, 2, and then it switches. Okay. So this way, you can see that you can still select things by pushing it, or you can just push and hold, and it swaps to the first one. So. Clean, gig rhythm, maybe a little bit less on that. So we just want just a light overdrive. We don't want a whole lot going on. Okay, check the output. Okay, it's pretty good. Here's the gig crunch. And that sounds nice. And then we're going to go to the next bank. Maybe. There we go. Gig lead. And if you really want to have something crazy in there, we could go to like a modulation. Let's do an error filter, and we got Dr. Wah. So that's pretty fun. We can change the mix of that as well. That way it just has a nice movement to the sound, but it's not overpowering or anything. Alright, nice. Here's brutal. Alright, very cool. Then here's gig wash. Turn that sustain up just a little bit. Alright, so now let's go back to global settings and let's turn this 4 rigs no hold off. You can see that it goes back to the previous way it was, where you just have to swap between, you got 2 rigs here, and then you can swap between the different banks. Alright, so if you want to prepare beforehand and say, all right, I want a clean and a dirty sound right here, you can just call that up. It's pretty easy. Then you can swap to the next bank, have a rhythm and a crunch. You can have a lead and a brutal. You can have a wash, and you can add something else there. Let's go ahead and add another rig just to make it an even Steven. All right, so we're going to do gig. What are we going to call it? We're going to do gig chorus. All right, let's turn that auto swell off. And let's add a chorus effect beforehand. Don't know why, but let's just run with it. Turn the shimmer off. Add the, let's keep the tape delay in there. You notice that I'm deleting stuff out of the rig just to keep it, just keep it clean. I don't need a lot of stuff in the rigs here. down. I'm still just surprised by this the clean sound of the M2. It's just a good clean sound. It's a great option there. Alright, so now we got our wash and our chorus. Okay, we can swap between our rigs, or I can go to global settings on, and I can see 4 rigs across the bottom now, and just swap between the different banks. So press and hold, it swaps. So we got 8 rigs in a set list. Here's 4 across the bottom, and here's my next 4. So you can really do a lot of damage here by planning ahead of your gig and kind of seeing what songs you're playing and what specific parts that they need. And you can easily just, lay out the rigs across the bottom. So that way you got your clean, you got your rhythm, you got your crunch. Or if you wanted a lead rig right there, or the brutal or the wash, you can totally do that. And then on the next bank, you can organize these any way you want. And what's really cool is if you go in here and you can say, it's like you already have these combinations of rigs here, but you can also add in the same iterations in like different orders. So that way you could just have like a clean, a rhythm crunch, clean lead, brutal, clean wash, chorus, rhythm. I mean, you can just make it any combination that you want. So you don't have to make a different rig every time. You can have the same rig and just have it in different orders within your set list. That way it makes it a little bit easier to kind of align everything how you need it for the song. So, all right, guys, that's been a pretty good demonstration of how the new set list feature works. We do not have the song option like we do in the Big Brother pedal board, but at least this is still a good way to utilize the 4-foot switches and still choose the different rigs that we want. So I am Dr. McFarland. I will see you in the next video. Keep rocking. So if you want to see great content all in one place, be sure to check out drmcfarlandstudios.com.